And one of the things you have to understand is that Cubism was something that was absolutely revolutionary and new. And Daniel Henry Kahnweiler, Picasso and Braque's dealer, knew that if their work was shown at these public salons, which were attended by thousands of people, hung very densely, he knew that the press would have a field day. He knew that they would make caricatures and jokes about figures made of cubes. And he forbade Picasso and Braque from showing in the public salons. As I said to you, the way he presented their work was by inviting collectors into the back gallery, one-on-one. He would be there to tell these collectors what Cubism was. And he felt that this kind of format for the salons, and remember, this goes back to the days of Henri Rousseau, first showing at the Salon des Indépendants around 1875, when people just couldn't understand the work. And by the time you get to 1912, there is a tradition of making fun of modern art. You may know this story that in 1910, there was a joke played on the Salon. An artist called Borinali entered a painting called Sun Effect on the River Seine. And the critics loved it. Beautiful, wonderful landscape. And then the next day, the artist revealed that it was made by Lolo the donkey. They tied a paintbrush to her tail and she swung it like that. And this sort of thing was kind of what Kahnweiler was worried about. In 1911, at the Salon des Indépendants, now remember that independent title is very important, because since the days of Ang, this idea that the salon would be jury-free and no prizes, this idea that everyone can exhibit as long as they pay the admittance fee, that allowed you to show anything. Now the problem is that in 1911, the Cubists entered their works independent of one another. In other words, they weren't as a group. So Delaunay sent his canvases, Glaise sent his canvases, and the hanging committee shunted them into room 41, and the press took them apart. And it was a complete rout. They were made fun of, and they were determined that 1912 would be different. This is our year. And I'm talking about here people like Glaise and Metzinger. This is a portrait by Albert Glaise, a portrait of a dentist called Dr. Theo Moreno. And this was the sort of thing where Glaise wanted his work to be understood by the public in ways that Braque and Picasso just didn't care. And so what he gives you is a kind of legible cubism. Glaise and Metzinger write a book called Du Cubisme, the first book ever published on cubism. Time to come out with the 1912 Salon. They knew that they were going to go as a group this time, and they were going to have a book. You don't understand this work, we'll give you our book. And it remains a very fascinating account. So this sort of legible cubism is what you're seeing in this room. And it does include people like Marcel Duchamp. Now, interestingly enough, Marcel Duchamp's Nude Descending a Staircase was refused at the 1912 Salon des Indépendants, which was in March. And the reason I have suspected since organizing this salon is that I think Glaise and Metzinger, who rejected the work, knew that they didn't yet have their book out. And they felt that this would be made fun of. And the argument they gave to Duchamp was the nude does not descend the stairs, the nude reclines. Duchamp withdrew his painting in disgust, and we know that it was actually a terrible moment for him. He, amazingly enough, took that painting to the Independent Salon in March of 1912 by boat. He was very afraid of the soldiers at the port of Paris. He was actually working in the suburbs, and he would have to come in through the port. And there were soldiers that he didn't like. They were absolutely going to make fun of him for this. They were probably going to mess it up or something. So he actually rowed by boat along the River Seine, right through to the Salon, took it up, brought it in, he paid his dues, he did everything you were allowed to do. And remember, any artist can exhibit. And he was told by his brothers and Glaise and Metzinger, we won't allow you to show this. He later showed it that summer at the Gallery del Mau in Barcelona. That's where the new design was first shown. And it went off without incident. And I think because of that, in October 1912, when this salon was put together, they allowed him to show it. And this is the first time it was shown in Paris.